Shane, welcome to the show today, brother. It's good to meet you in person, all right? Kind of in person, but via Zoom here. So I'm
Right? How
glad
you
you're
doing,
on here.
brother?
It's great to have you on the show. We have an incredible story. You have an incredible story. I'm looking forward to letting the audience learn more about you today. So glad to have you here today.
I appreciate the welcome me in.
Awesome, brother. Let's start with a quick introduction. And like I said earlier, if you could expand a little bit on that, that'd be great. Shane was a Marine Corps combat veteran, Purple Heart recipient, successful entrepreneur, MMA professional fighter, proud American, and a strong Christian. Anything that I missed that you want to add there, Shane?
Man, proud father. I think that's a good one as well. You got to have strong men in this world that are leaders
Absolutely,
of their
absolutely,
children.
absolutely. And how many kids do you have, Shane?
I have two. I have a 20-year-old son and an 11-year-old daughter.
Nice. You're actually like me. I got some kids in the 20s, and I have a daughter that's turning 10, which is
Oh,
awesome.
there you go. We're right there.
Yeah, but the daughter's the light of our life, isn't it? Isn't that
Oh,
great,
I'm telling
amazing?
you. I'm telling you. That's a different that's a different world.
But they're getting older, so they're getting more independent too. So it's
Ugh, don't warn me.
oh man, let's get started, brother. Let's start out with your military career. When and why did you decide to join the Marine Corps?
I decided I walked in on September 11th, like many Americans, just trying to do their average life. I was a junior in high school at the time. I was 16 years old and I was so ready. We had wrestling practice that afternoon. And I remember walking downstairs and I walk into a world history class. Of all classes, I walk into world history class. Absolutely insane. Miss Pritchard was the teacher
Oh
at
wow.
Oshkosh North High School. And I walk in and I was like, oh, what movie are we watching today? And those TVs on those racks that they used to push
Yep.
around with the
Yeah,
strap.
yeah.
And I see a tower burning. I had no idea what the World Trade Center was. I was young, naive. Um, I was in JROTC at the time, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, something's wrong. And you see the caption across the bottom: World Trade Center been hit by a plane. Da da da. Doesn't know if it's intentional. And all of a sudden, while we're in class, I watched the second plane hit. And at that moment, I was like, yo, America's under attack. I knew from my father, I knew from my ancestors and different relatives, including my grandfather, what the world looks like or sounds like when it's under attack. And I was like, something's wrong. I start looking and I start talking to, some people were taking it very serious, some people not so serious. And I saw a lot of the teachers that were Vietnam vets really getting kind of, their spidey senses and hair standing up on the back of their neck. And you can tell the difference. And we had this we had this Vietnam vet, and he was one of the physical education teachers, and he was used to be a drill instructor in the 70s after Vietnam.
Oh wow.
And this guy, he's like, oh boys, it's time, boys, and I'll never forget. We were like, whoa, all right, and I ran down. I called my dad on a payphone, and I said, hey, I need to join the military. And my dad's like, what? Vietnam vet guy, and he's like, hey, look, if that's what you want to do, brother, we'll do it.
Nice.
And my mom, completely different answer.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm 16, and I had a whole high school ahead of me. I had a whole nother year and a half ahead of me in school. I had to figure out at that moment, you know, pivotal moment. What do you do? I went down and talked to my guidance counselor. I forewent my senior year. I ended up being able to crush enough credits in my junior year to graduate early,
Holy cow.
and also gave up a full ride scholarship for college, for sports and not academics, because I was not the smartest kid, but I was able to get by with sports.
Right.
And I signed the paperwork when I signed the intention with the recruiter. Went back on my 17th birthday, and most kids are partying on their 17th birthday with their friends at the water park or something like that, and I'm sitting there with the recruiter signing my papers. And next morning I was already at MEPS in Milwaukee, Wisconsin,
Holy
and
cow.
getting getting ready.
That's amazing, man. So was your dad in the Corps as well?
My dad was in the Corps as well. Yeah,
Nice, nice, awesome, man. What
yeah.
you're talk about patriotism right there, brother. Holy
Yeah,
cow.
we have three family members on the Vietnam Memorial Wall. POW, MIA, all three of them. And I know they're proud of me. I know they were, I knew what you you always ask everybody, what's your purpose? That was my purpose is my uncles that were on the wall.
Wow. And that's awesome. You figured it out so early, right? So, which is
Yeah.
incredible, right?
Well, it
Yeah.
kind of got forced. I didn't figure it out. It's kind of a drop in your lap kind of moment, but
Right, right. Well, you know what?
and
God makes things happen for a reason, right? So
amen to
that's
that.
good. What was the most valuable lesson you learned while you were in the Corps?
Ooh, this might stir up a lot, but
That's fine.
keep your friends close and your enemies closer. And
Exactly.
don't, just because somebody has rank on their collar does not make them more important than the next guy. Some of the lower rank guys had a lot more clout and a lot more tenacity as well as leadership than the senior enlisted.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yep. I saw that. I was in 6.5 years, and yeah, so I saw that right in front of my eyes every day.
Yeah, it's actually kind of sad. It's
Yeah.
sad when if you're able to dissect and step back from the moment and realize. I had this Lance Corporal that was in charge of me in the beginning, and I think he made more of an impact on my life as an E3 than some of the E4s through E7s.
Wow. And you know what? If you think about it, if you break out of the military, that's the way life is in general, right?
Yeah,
It's like, you know what? You're gonna have good people, bad people, people that are leaders, the people that are not, people that it's, oh, hey, it's all about me. That's all I care about, and kind of screw you, whatever. So,
yep.
which is pretty cool. And what years did you serve?
'02 to '05. I was medically released in '05.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha. Okay, perfect. What was the biggest challenge you faced while serving?
Biggest challenge is just trying to find my mm, almost find the reason for what you're doing and make sure that because you have a choice to either be a faithful man or be a warrior in life. And it was really hard to be super faith driven. And then all of a sudden we're doing these, you know, atrocities, if you will,
Yep.
in the middle of a third world country where these people were so scared of us. But yet I'm trying to be a faith. If I would have known how to blend those two and be a faithful warrior, man, I think I would have been way better for everybody around me. But I tried to just be a warrior and put my faith on the back burner for that moment. And I think that was one of the biggest challenges is not knowing how to blend the two.
Right, exactly. That sounds like a title for a book.
Oh,
Faithful
right.
Warrior. I love it, man.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit about this more during later in the podcast, but did you always have faith in your life?
So I had faith my whole childhood growing up.
Nice.
And then I actually had a Catholic priest tell me that I turned my back on God and I didn't love God anymore because I went to war. And that pushed me away from church for nearly 20
Wow.
years until 2020.
Did he tell you that before you left or when you came back from leave or something?
I know it was I was back from boot camp and we are sorry back from training. Right, we got a week before we
Yep.
pumped overseas,
Okay.
and I ran home real quick and I was like, oh, I'm gonna see my priest and he's gonna give me these words of
You're gonna
wisdom,
be so
because he's
proud
a
of me. Yeah.
yeah, he's a leader. And instead he just was like dump right on my head and chop my heart right out of my chest. And it made me run away from the church for gosh darn almost 18 years until 2020.
Wow. Holy cow. Talk about words making a difference, right?
Yeah,
And there was a good example we were talking about earlier, leaders versus non-leaders. So
100%. Yep.
so even in church, yeah, you got to be careful with that too. I've seen that in churches as well, unfortunately. But people are people no matter where you go. So
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
yeah. Which mission had the greatest impact on you?
Ooh, I think there was a time when um, we got to go in and actually help the people and pay them. It was kind of cool. We got to go in and help these people clean up just this little area, and it was so cool because it was an old French fort,
Okay.
and we got to clean it up and just cleaning it and being able to take pictures with these people. They were so thankful we were in this little tiny town, and most of the Marines were miserable. I mean, it sucked. We had to sleep in a early 1900s fort per se, And here we are, just miserable and everybody's dying in there. And I just found it so at peace because we were helping people
Right.
and giving them what they wanted. And what they wanted was freedom from these oppressive, people. And we were going out and doing these missions and catching these people, catching these bad guys. And it was really cool to train some of the police as well. Well, I didn't train them personally, but we got to be overhead watch of the actual training of the
Okay.
new Iraqi police force. And so, whereas a lot of people had a chip on their shoulder going, oh man, these guys are, former military. Well, yeah, but and in it's not my job to judge them.
Right.
If
Exactly.
they're willing to make the change,
Correct.
now don't get me wrong, some of them were very corrupt. It was,
Okay.
it was infiltrated. And those people were sniffed out pretty fast, but it was really cool to know that, hey, maybe what I'm doing, even though it was security or, overhead, maybe that little finite plan might help save this country or give this country a future.
Yeah, even if you touch one person, right?
Yeah.
That's all it takes. If we could save one person, help one person change their lives, that's a success. So that's an
All it
awesome
takes
story.
is a grain of sand,
Yep.
and a grain of sand can become a beach. And I have the most impactful picture I ever took in Iraq. The most impactful picture is a group of children that came to me, and I was sitting on this little outpost, and they're like trying to hang out with me, and they wanted all my glow sticks, because
Yep.
they
They
my
love
glow
those.
sticks
Yeah.
and my Skittles, man. Um, and we were telling MC, go away, and LJ, and we don't want any, and they were so nice. They kept coming up, and the one guy goes, "Bad Saddam, Bad Saddam," and I was like, "Yeah, man, Bad Saddam," and he goes, "Oh, Bad Saddam," and I was like, "Whoa," and he pulls out a school book and rips a picture of Saddam Hussein out, throws it on the ground, and I have a picture from the old the roller cameras,
Oh
the
yeah, yeah,
disposables,
yeah.
and these kids are stomping on the picture of Saddam Hussein. And I
Wow.
think that one picture that I have in my photo album is the most impactful picture I ever took.
Wow. That is incredible. If there's any way you could share that with me, that
I
would be
will,
great. I could post that on this podcast. I'd love to put it on there,
for
man. That
sure.
sounds like that sounds like an awesome picture. Wow. Thanks for sharing that. So obviously, you were medically released, so you didn't have any plans for after the Corps, right?
Man, I wanted to do 20.
Yeah.
All I knew was I wanted to bleed green until the day I couldn't walk anymore.
Right.
And that was kind of my goal. And so yeah, when I got released in June of '05, I was like, I had
Now
no
what?
I had nothing.
Wow. Wow. What did you go back to Wisconsin? Because right now you live in San Diego, right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. Love San Diego. I wish I
Oh
lived
yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Uh,
right. No, I actually wound up in Dana Point
okay.
initially with this girl that I was seeing. She's like, "Oh, move in with me." Her parents are really big fans of that.
I can
Here's this
imagine.
Marine. Yeah,
Yep.
super big fans.
Yep.
And she basically she had an extra room and she let me get back on my feet. It was really cool. We realized real quick that we weren't meant to be together. You know a lot about a person when you try to live with them.
Right.
And I was very young, naive, didn't know what was going on in life. And I realized I was like, yo, California is not for me. I'm out after only a couple weeks.
Wow.
I jumped in my car and I drove across country, flew up, I drove up to Wisconsin, landed in Oshkosh, and yeah, and that's kind of where essentially my part two of my life all started was back in the hometown. I got a job at Oshkosh Truck Corporation right away. Um, yeah, but and something I know I feel like you're gonna touch on because I feel like you're gonna go there, but that's kind of where the demons started creeping in too.
That was my next question, actually. Yep. If you face challenges with PTSD and TBI, so we could get into that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, so winding up in Wisconsin, as you know, being from Chicago, Wisconsin is per capita one of the drunkest states in the world, country, and they have a lot of bars. And there's
Right.
a on the main street of Oshkosh, Wisconsin, at the time there used to be 117 pubs or taverns
Are
down
you
one
kidding me?
street.
Holy cow, I didn't know there was that
117.
many. Wow.
Yep, and in a town of 38,000. So let's just say a lot of drunks. And one of my buddies was like, hey, man, come to the bar. And I met the bartender, and the bartender's like, oh, and finding out that I was all depressed. I didn't know what anything was. I had documentation that said I had PTSD. I didn't know what PTSD was. Um, and I look at it, and the bartender's like, oh, try this. Introduces me to cocaine.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and cocaine's great for a temporary release, but wow, does it open up portals in in your spiritual realm as well. I let demons in that I didn't know I never wanted, I never knew I needed.
Right.
And it led to a multi-year, almost 4 year, just train wreck of a life. I was able to fake it on the outside for the most part for a few years, but my addiction got so severe that it ultimately led to me attempting suicide in 2009, June
Okay.
14th. So yeah, man, dealing with really dark stuff when you have no outlet and I was fighting at the time, mind you. I had started fighting, but my first fight getting out of the Marine Corps, my first fight, I was 262 pounds. I like to say to people in interviews that I was self-sponsored by Burger King. I was, yeah,
Oh my
but I
God.
knew something was wrong one day um, when I couldn't walk up the stairs without losing my breath.
Wow.
I lived in this little
And
ADU
how
that
and how tall are you?
6'1".
6'1". Okay. Yeah, you had yeah.
Yeah. And I just knew I just wasn't good. Wearing a size 40, a 42 jeans,
Wow.
I just felt gross, you know? And it was cool, but here, my dad's begging me to come, back, be home. And my mom is really happy I'm home, but yet I wasn't home,
Right,
if that makes
exactly.
sense.
Right.
My heart was not in Oshkosh any longer.
You were
My
physically there, but spiritually you're somewhere. Yeah.
Oh, I was gone.
Yeah, you were gone. Yeah.
And I didn't know, and the VA didn't know what PTSD was at the time. At one point they had me on 26 medications.
Wow.
Between 2005 to 2009, they had me on 26 different medications. At one time, I remember specifically doing 11 on a regimen that they had me on,
Holy crap.
with no mental health care, by the way, because I couldn't drive. They had no mental health anywhere near. I would have to drive to Milwaukee, and there was no way I was driving 2 hours, every day to go to mental health. And yeah, it ended up leading, unfortunately, fast forward 2009, and I had such bad survivor's guilt. I had bad just anxiety, my PTSD, depression. If depression had four best friends, anxiety was three of them. They were all in the car, and it was a crash course for failure. I believed at the time that nobody loved me. I had no support group, no anything, and I ended up I used the last of my money that I had for my VA disability check. I used the last of my money to buy as much cocaine as I could, pills. I actually Googled how to kill yourself, how to
Wow.
overdose, and that should not be a Google search, by the way. Um, and and I did it very quietly, so nobody would ever know. Um, and mind you, I at this time in 2000. You got to rewind a little bit. Sorry, I kind of got ahead of myself. I was in Wisconsin in '05, and I lasted 6 months. Uh, it hit 52 below zero wind chill,
Oh my gosh.
and I packed my car, came back to San Diego. So, mind you, back in by '06, early '06, I was back here in San Diego. I found a room for rent on MySpace. So I was in the room for rent when I was when I was going through the suicide attempt. And the person renting me the room got really upset because when I started doing the cocaine and drinking, I had blacked out and I had shattered through a glass table.
Oh wow.
He heard it, ultimately saving my life, being able to break the door down because he was PO'd, his glass table got broken, and he sees me, done with green ooze and all this other crap coming out of me. Essentially calls the fire department, paramedics. They hit me. They had to paddle me, and they get me back alive.
Wow.
Um, a lot of people say if you go through like a traumatic event or you know, go to die or anything, you see lights or, you know, Holy Spirit comes and talks to you or God talks to you and shows himself to you. I wish I would have seen something like that. I wish I had a cool story for you. I have nothing. I know that it was all black, and the only thing I can cognitively and confidently say is there was a voice right before I woke up, and it said, "Not yet."
Wow.
And I popped to, and there was this big old burly dude standing over me, DEA agent, and they were watching me because they knew I was using drugs. They thought I was like some big middleman
Oh, no
for,
way. Oh my
for this
gosh.
big drug connection because I apparently the drugs I had purchased was from an undercover. So like
And you bought so many that they thought you were dealing.
yeah, it was the worst slash best thing I've ever done in my life.
Wow.
Um, because that led the DEA right to me.
Right, exactly.
And right when I was trying to kill myself. And this guy standing over me, he goes, "What in the F is wrong with you?" And I said, "What?" You know, and he goes, "If you ever do this shit again, I will beat you myself." And he pulls up his sleeve and he's got a second Ranger Battalion
Oh my
tattoo on his
gosh. Okay,
forearm.
got it.
And he goes, "Just to let you know, you're stuck with me for the rest of your life. I hope you're ready for that. If
Wow.
you," and he goes, "if you promise me that you will change your life today, I don't care how you change it. I don't care why you change it. But if you promise me you will not get in trouble, I will vouch for you." And I was like, "Yeah." And so I did. I went to court. They sentenced me to a prison term, and I was very blessed at that moment. You know, talk about you know, they stayed my whole prison sentence, and they
Wow.
allowed me to do a thing called Veterans Court, where after my probation, after my everything, they ended up releasing all my felonies, everything. So I no longer have a criminal record. They expunged everything completely. It's such a blessing. I kept, and I now, mind you, you got to remember from 2002 to now, I hadn't even been to church. So I was like, it's still at this moment, I'm trying to turn my back on God. And now I'm trying to do like the ultimate bad thing, and that's try to kill myself. And here I am, and God still's not turning his back on me. God's saying, "Hey, not yet, bro. Like, I still have stuff for you."
Right, exactly.
But I still had the blinders on. So, and that was '09.
Oh my gosh. So were you actually on all those meds and doing drugs at the same time?
Correct. Yep.
Wow. Holy cow.
I think the meds pushed me to drugs, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I
The
think too.
drugs made me so depressed, so overweight. They made me not like myself. They made me very not self confident. And it's a complete 180 of what I am today. And I had no self confidence. I wouldn't leave my house, and you know the VA just kept putting me on another med, and it's just so bad. Like
So
the
if you know
VA,
if you knew now what you know now when you were that age, would you even have taken any of those VA drugs?
I wouldn't have taken a single one of them.
Right. That's what I
Yeah,
thought. Yeah,
yeah,
because it seems like so many we hear that story over and over again, right?
correct.
These drugs are messing me up. So, but I think that's all the VA has, right? So
And that's all they have. Yeah,
I know that I just saw a clip with the VA director with Sean Ryan. They're talking about, hopefully getting psychedelics and maybe stem cells and some other stuff approved, which would be great because that's something that's really effective versus the drugs. What would you tell somebody out there that's struggling with that right now, just getting out of, whatever armed forces, and they're giving them drugs? What would you, since you've been through it pretty harshly, what would you recommend?
honestly, whether it's armed forces, whether it's police, whether
Police
it's
too. Yeah, that's right.
anything, you
Yep.
know, firefighter, if you are in public service, or even just if you're just a
General
mom,
public. Yep.
yeah, if you're a mom or a dad that's just really struggling with mental health, I would say do not take the meds. Now, some meds are actually very, very good for you. Really do your due diligence on the
Right.
side effects. Really do your due diligence, but reach out to people. People think people don't care, and that was one of my biggest problems. Is I thought nobody cared. I wish I knew now what I didn't know then. Is that everybody cares. You have to ask. You almost have to humanistic human nature is to almost deny that you care. But if you called me tomorrow, I'm going to talk to you and I'll be like, oh, snap. Like, let's get through this. And that's what people don't realize. Like, you just need to be able to reach out to your friends. And also, if you have a friend or you have a loved one, no matter what they're going through, reach out to them. I randomly reach out to friends and I'm like, hey, bro, thought about you today. Love you, bro. And my friends are like, yo, what the heck? Now they're getting used to it.
Right.
But I just do these random little buddy checks, just not even a buddy check, just, hey, man, thought about you today. I had men's prayer. And literally yesterday, I had men's prayer and I thought about somebody during men's prayer that I hadn't spoken to in a while. And I wrote him, I said, hey, your name came to mind during men's prayer. I hope all is blessed. If you need anything, I'm always here. And that dude wrote me back within 10 minutes and was like, you literally just put tears in my eyes. And it's
Wow.
just that because he goes, thank you for letting me know you love me without even saying it.
Right.
And
Exactly.
it's just that little thing, man. Like normalize telling your friends you love them, dude. Like it's not weird. It's not, it's not awkward. If somebody knows that they're loved, no matter what their situation is, they'll know they have somebody or something to lean on.
Absolutely. And I want to reiterate, anybody listening today, if you're having any of those challenges, you don't have anybody, reach out to Shane. We'll post
Yep.
his Instagram or reach out to me. We're happy to love, happy and honored to talk to you guys because that's what we're here to do is we're here to serve and help you guys out as well.
Amen.
So, and then another very important thing you brought up is, being a believer, right?
Yep.
That makes such a difference, right? If you're ever feeling alone, you're never alone because God is with you 100% all the time, right? So,
Yeah.
but if you're on
So true.
if you're on stuff that you're not supposed to be on, you're not going to be able to hear him, which is incredible. So we'll
Mhm.
talk about that a little bit more here in a second. Um, what's the one thing about your journey that most people don't know that but need to hear?
Just because you see my Instagram, just because you see, this happy go lucky life, I struggle. I struggle more than you would think. But the difference is I don't quit. Like a lot of people quit. I am a ground pounder till the day I die. I'm a knuckle dragon Marine. I will bleed green. I will bleed red, white, and blue. But I cannot quit. I
Right,
know I
absolutely.
can't quit because of the right behind me is the stars and bars, and I can't quit because my forefathers didn't quit. And if I quit, then the demons win. I ain't in this world to let those guys win no more.
Yeah, it's definitely a spiritual battle, right? So
Yeah.
if you guys think about it, we fought in the core. Guess what? We have a bigger fight now, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more enemies out there trying to take people down every day, right? So don't feel like you're alone. You're not alone. You have a lot of brothers there that want to help you out no matter what.
Yep.
Um, how did you develop the mindset needed for success? Was that influenced through your, or actually, let me backtrack for a minute. Uh, so you have nickname or tagline WarRhino, did that come from the core or from MMA fighting?
So that actually came at during the core, but from outside the core. It came from some Native American friends of mine. So
Oh,
it was
nice.
and it just kind of stuck. They were like, they called me crazy, that crazy guy, and it was kind of funny. It was here in San Diego,
Okay.
and then I ended up. I had some friends here, and I went up to Wisconsin, and we did a little ceremony, and next thing you know, they're like, "Yep, you're war right." I was like, "All right." Uh, and
I
I
love
thought
it.
it. I'll be honest, man. I thought it was the dumbest name in the beginning. I never went by it. I thought when I started fighting, if you look back, I was going by the zombie because that's what my coaches called me.
Okay.
I thought it was absolutely the dumbest name in the world, and I had a very mediocre start of my career. And I was blessed enough to walk away from fighting. And I was like, I'm going to do a corporate job. Well, I'm not a very corporate person.
Right.
You can tell by my IG. I don't do well in 9 to 5 suit and tie. Um, and I tried, quit that, and I was like, all right, I'm going back to fighting, but I'm going to go by WarRhino. And I'll never forget the promoter said, former zombie, now rebranded and coming back as the WarRhino in true form. And I ended up going on a 15 fight win streak. So
Oh, wow.
I'm going to say it kind of worked out for me.
That's pretty
So
good.
yeah, I adopted it, but now it's and a lot of people don't know that's actually my legal middle name. So yeah, my name is Shane WarRhino Krutchen. So they
I love it. Holy
a
cow.
lot of people are like, "What?" And I was like, I show them my driver's license. They're like, "Yo."
That's awesome, man. You know what's incredible too? Speaking of MMA, that's the toughest training out there, dude.
Oh,
Holy
it's no
cow.
joke.
It's like how
Well,
many
because you're not just worried about punches to the face, you're worried about kicks, elbows. You're worried about people taking you down, and then elbows on the ground. Then you got, I mean, you have to train every aspect of your body, mental health, emotional health. I've had more emotional breakdowns than a woman going through midlife crisis, I
oh
think.
my,
In the gym, I've told everybody, right where to go and where the sun doesn't shine, and I've told them I've thrown my gloves across gyms and broken doors and but at the end of the day, everybody's like, eh. They're just like that happens. It's just
how,
it's
God,
but
God.
there's so much testosterone, like it's got to go somewhere sometimes.
How many hours a day did you work out when you were training?
Gosh, 6 to 8, depending. Yeah, and that included cardio, jujitsu, Muay Thai, strength training, everything. So it was always, and I was very blessed with a career of almost 17 years. So to be able to say that I had longevity of such, I outdid everybody that said I would never make it in the sport, which was really hilarious. Um, I not only outdid them, but I got better accolades. I did more in the sport. I was, on bigger shows, co-main events. And it's funny because I look back and I never did it for the accolades. I did it just because it was my mental health thing. I
Yeah,
just again, I just typical Marine. I just put my head down and just kept walking forward, and I just kept getting blessed with amazing things.
that's amazing. Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, about 20 years ago, when MMA was just first starting, I was training. I trained for like 2 years, but I only trained like 2 hours. Never really competed.
Yeah.
But it's like, man, this workout is brutal. It was like it's like it was killing me. I go, this is
Yeah.
worse than the Marine Corps, you know?
Yeah, and I used to work out with some real gangsters, I like to say, and they yeah, man, when you got Army Rangers in there quitting from the workouts, or you have we had Navy SEALs come in and they were like, yo, during the strength training, like, how do you keep doing this? I'm like, just gotta keep going, bro.
Right. That's awesome, man. Kudos. And you brought up another great point is to have something in your life that you love, right?
Yeah.
So make sure that, mental health is a big challenge, but like Shane said earlier, get around people that love you, get Christ in your life, and find a purpose, right? Find a purpose for yourself, right? The Marine Corps or whatever branch, or if you're, police officer, firefighter, whatever, that was one time in our lives, and guess what? We have another mission now. So let's move forward. Shane's an awesome example of what he has going on. We're going to talk a little bit more about his business and here in the future, but he turned his life around and made things happen, which is awesome, man. I love that, brother.
Thank you.
What keeps you motivated every day?
Knowing that there's people that still need help.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Love it.
and just knowing that if my worst day can be somebody else's success, I would run it all back tomorrow. So I'm like, yo, I need to get out there. I need to talk to people. I need to make people smile. Um, and it's just kind of funny. And I look at my kid, my youngest, and she motivates the crap out of me. She always makes sure that, she tells me, Daddy, you're my biggest hero. And I'm like, yo, like you can't be saying that. You make me teary eyed. Daddy can't be teary eyed. Daddy's cool. And I walk her. I'm one of the, there's not a lot of parents that walk their kid into school. I walk my child into school to the classroom every single day. I pick her up at school. I take her to the father daughter dances. I do everything. I hold she hold loves to hold my hand across streets, and she's 11, and most 11-year-olds by now are like, nah, I'm not touching my
Like, get
dad.
away from me, Dad. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
I tuck her in every time she's at my house, not her mom's. I tuck her into bed. I make sure she gets a kiss on her forehead every night, tell her how much she loves her. Like that kind of stuff motivates me to keep pushing forward because whether it be business, I have to be successful because I'm trying to leave when I leave this world or I leave this, this industry, I want to make sure my daughter has everything I never had as a child or as a person in this world. So you have a lot of responsibility to make sure you leave a better world for my kid and future generations than what we came into.
Absolutely. I love my daughter. My daughter's here. And I go, hey, I gotta get ready for the podcast. Comes over. It's like, Dad, I need a hug. And she goes, Dad, great, best of luck on the podcast. I love you. You do a great job. So it's like, oh my
Heck
gosh.
yeah.
So, but I think it's biblical for us to be there for them and teach them about God, right? So that's another
I
thing
agree.
that I work with her a lot. It's like, we listen to a lot of Christian music, watch a lot of Christian videos on TV. She reads the Bible every morning. So it's like, that's one of the most important things is that I'm working on for her is to get that into her life because that's the most important thing ever.
Yeah.
Uh, we were talking a little bit about training a minute ago. How important is working out, eating right to have the right presence and the right mindset? And obviously, and can you tell us what you're still doing for training and eating?
Yeah, so I ended up breaking my neck in 2021, unfortunately.
Oh, wow.
I had a unfortunate accident in a car. I was rear-ended. Um it screwed up a lot. I had to retire from fighting. But that doesn't stop. Like I got in my head again when that happened. Little things like a road bump can become a mountain, right?
Right.
And I got in my head. I gained a bunch of just medically I gained a bunch of weight because I wasn't able to run, I wasn't able to work out, I wasn't able to do a bunch of things. But then I started finding the excuses. And then I was able to surround myself with people that love me. I was told by this individual at church, he calls me, he's like, you getting back in the gym. And obviously I can't do squats. I can't do things that are going to bend my neck. I can't do anything invasive on my neck. But he's like, that's fine. I'm good. And he found this whole workout program, got me, to lose weight, get me back to a healthier weight, feel good about myself again. And today, fast forward, I got my girlfriend, and oh man, I get grounded, David. Like if I don't eat the healthiest, she likes to ground me. She likes to make sure I don't even have to eat like super clean, but I have to eat healthier than what used to,
Okay, got
and
it.
she makes sure of it because all the negative food just brings negative feelings, and she's always like, "You got to eat at least one green, Shane," and I'm like, "Dang it, you win." I'm
Right.
like, "Oh." It's like she's like one green, Shane. And I'm like, oh gosh, okay, don't yell at me. Make some asparagus, I'll eat that. But it's really cool like to have people like her, like my friend Aaron from church, and I have all these other people that just really kind of, force you to be the better you. So I think that's part of the, training and stuff like that. And then still being an inspiration to people that are training in MMA or jiu-jitsu. I still go and visit these guys just so they see like, hey, this guy still loves us and still cares.
That's awesome. That's a good deal. Yeah. I think what you put in your body is extremely important, like we were talking about
Hmm.
earlier with the drugs, right? There's
Yep.
so many chemicals and things, and I think Bobby Kennedy hopefully is changing that in the future.
Yeah.
That there's so much crap out there. It's like, you know what? I tell people, it's like, I give people like an analogy. It's like, hey, would you give your dog some of the crap that you eat, right? Or would you put crap inside your high performance car? No, right?
Yep.
We're more valuable than that, right? So guess what? You got to use your brain and eat the right foods, right?
Yep.
You probably eat avocado, right? You like
Oh,
avocado?
I love avocado.
All
Yeah,
right, so
avocado with some onion salt on there, game over.
nice. Awesome. What was one of the biggest blessings that you have received?
One of the biggest blessings is a second lease on life in court. Um, Having the judge, he was a blind judge, Vietnam veteran. He's passed
Blind,
away
really?
since. Yeah, he was blind. He got
Wow.
blinded in Vietnam
And that was in San Diego?
in San Diego.
Okay.
Judge Skanowski,
Wow.
Samowski.
Okay.
Yeah, he had a guide dog, and I'll never forget he when he sat on the bench. And he's like, I sentenced you to 8 years, 9 months in correctional facility, da da da. And he goes, but I'm gonna stay the sentence. And the DA decided he was gonna voice up, and he was like, Judge, no, I object. And he looks at him, he goes, shut your mouth. This is
Nice.
my courtroom, and this is he goes, and I will deal the punishment here. And I'll never forget he instead of sentencing me to prison, he goes, I feel something's different about you, and I feel like you're not gonna let me down. And he put me in a facility to get clean, and I've been clean today since this incident in June of '09. Um, I just it's so crazy to look back and be like, because this judge gave me a second lease on life, I'm here, I'm clean, I'm thriving. I think that's one of the biggest blessings I've ever received in life.
Wow. God loves you, brother. He saved you a few
Yeah.
times, which is awesome. You know,
Again, I've tried to turn my back a million times. I like to use the road analogy. There's God's road, and here's Shane to do typical Marine, just walk off the road. And I saw crayons or I saw something off on the side, and God just kept going, come on, bro, come on, come back to the road. And I'm like, oh, look that way. And then, and Shane just kept going like this when the road was straight. Like all I had to do was just go straight to the kingdom. And I finally, got brought back to the road, and I saw it, and I was like, oh wow. Oh, this is way easier. I'm not walking over mountains. I'm walking a nice paved road. Okay. So it's crazy.
well, it's easy. It's easy to get distracted with this world. We got so much crap thrown at us every day, right?
Amen to
So
that.
if you're not focused, if you're not living, doing something that's going to remind you that you have your father protecting you, watch over you every day, it's impossible to remember every day.
Yep.
Like many years ago, I would just go to church maybe on Sundays. That was it. That was the only thing. That's the only time I ever thought of God, Jesus, or whatever.
Yep.
It's like, dude, what are you doing, man? This is supposed to be the most important thing in your life, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you love somebody, you don't just tell them I love you once a week, knucklehead, right? You got to do something different, which is awesome.
It's like the old holiday religious.
Right, exactly, exactly. So you brought up a point that we didn't cover earlier. The judge put you in the program. Is that what helped you turn that around as well?
Honestly, I think the 12-step program was a joke to me.
So what was
That
the
was to
biggest
me
thing that helped you turn your life around?
going there and being able to share my story and learning
Okay,
that if I speak about my trauma, it actually was beneficial and healing to me. And the
nice.
process was actually giving me healing. And it was like such a groundbreaking moment realizing speaking of what's bothering me
Okay,
versus bottling it was helping. And it was kind of cool because I'm in this program it was at the VA. And it was a PTSD slash substance abuse program,
okay,
and you had to graduate out of it. You at first for the first month you can't leave and you can't do anything, and then you get weekend visits home, and then you graduate out. And it was most of the program in my eyes was not useful to me, but like anything in life, you have to grab what's useful and
right,
run with it.
exactly,
And I
exactly.
grabbed a lot of it, and I grabbed being able to speak to other people, speak to brothers, being able to like maybe, hey, show them, my if my plate's this full and yours is only that full, brother, come on, let's go. Let's go even these plates out, and talk to them. It was really cool. I think that's what I took away from it, and that gave me my second lease.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think being around other people, it's like, hey, this is not just yourself that's going through this, right? Many people are
Exactly.
struggling with the same thing. So the VA does have some great programs, it sounds like as well.
Oh, 100%. I think that the VA has good programs. People don't get access to them, or they're not informed on how to gain access to these good programs. And I also think that there's a lot of wastefulness within the VA.
Absolutely.
I'm a firm believer that the VA needs to be defunded. That's
Right.
my personal thing. I think that the VA privatized medical care will save so many veterans' lives. It'll stop this mass pandemic of over medicating veterans and actually give us the real mental health care that we need.
Right. Absolutely. I love that. Can you share what you're currently doing business wise? I know that
Yeah.
you try to work in the Fortune 500 and arena, which I have another recon Marine that owns a restaurant nearby here. He was a major Vietnam veteran, Purple Heart
Oh
as
wow.
well. He goes, Dave, veterans were not made to work for somebody.
Never.
I go, Lynn, you're 100% right, brother.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I tried to sell cars at one point. That's not pretty. You don't want some guy like me, high intensity. I run on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm at like a 300.
Okay,
Um, it's not good for sales.
right,
Well, for other people. Yeah, I tell it like it is, and I don't really have a filter. That doesn't work out in corporate world. And I found my niche in construction. I was very blessed to work for another veteran for a few years. This is all while fighting because I knew like I had to supplement my income somehow.
right.
And in 2018, I was blessed enough. This veteran was retiring
Wow.
and calls me in his office and he goes, "Hey, Shane," he goes, "You've worked for me for years now. What's your plan? I'm retiring." And I was like, "Well, I don't have a plan." He goes, "How do you not have a plan? You've known my retirement for, a couple years." And I'm like, and I go to him, I go, "I'm a Marine, dude." I go, "I'll figure it out." And
Right.
he's like, "That's not, no, 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 stop that mentality." He
That's
goes,
not a plan. Yeah.
"Yeah, yeah." That's what he told me is dang Navy guys. And he's like, "Well, that's not a plan." I was like, "Well, I'm a Marine, bro. Like it'll come to me one of these days." And he slips it across, he slips his big manila envelope across the table, and it had truck keys in it, the title to my work truck. It had a check for 5 grand. It had the keys to the storage locker for
Wow.
work. He gave me all the tools, all the stuff, and it had a form in there. And the form said, the form was to get my contractor's license. And I was like, "What's this?" And he goes, "You know what it is. It's time to go get your own stuff. The 5 grand's to pay for your contracting license and your test, and the truck and pay for the truck stuff. Truck's yours, tools are yours. I want to see where your company's at in a year."
Wow.
And I was like, "Yo, again, another big blessing,
Yep.
favor upon." And I went with it, man. And I built my company. My first year, I did 40 grand, 40 grand total in business.
Okay.
And I thought I was crushing it. I was like, I got
I'm the
this.
man. I'm killing this.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm now partnered in another company. I also have my company.
Okay.
I did 3.97 million last year.
Nice.
I built a multi-million-dollar corporation now at this point. So blessed. And I've had no training. I'm a one-man shop. I do everything other than my subs, which is absolutely insane. And then on top of that, I also do executive security protection. So um, I like to say sleep when you're dead is a
Right.
true thing.
Yep.
Um, and an anxiety level of 1 to 10, I'm like at a solid 740.
Okay.
But we're good. Yeah,
Oh my
it's
God.
a it's a healthy thing. I do get stressed out sometimes. My girlfriend can attest, and she has no problem putting me back in my place. I don't like that as a Marine, but it's sometimes I have to realize she's a sergeant major, and sometimes I'm still just a lance corporal.
Right.
Uh, but I can buck the system all I want. She lets me know that I'm wrong. Um, but it's a blessing because I'm able to give back philanthropy to the church. I'm able to give back to people in the church. We had that men's conference I was mentioning to you. There was a gentleman in church that didn't have any money, and I was able to bless him with a ticket. It's not that cheap to go to a 4-day event, plus housing, plus everything. And I blessed him with the entire trip for free of charge.
Wow. That's
And to
awesome,
give
brother.
that to him with no, I had no
No
want,
expectations. Yep.
none. I just
Yep.
said, "Hey, man, I hope God moves in your life this weekend."
That's
This
awesome.
morning, I saw him at men's prayer, and I'm walking out because I have to get my daughter to school. And he grabs me and he's like, his eyes are huge and he's shaking. He goes, "Man, thank you so much." He goes, "Wow, did you hear this speech? Did you hear this one? Oh my gosh, it just blew my brain." I was like, That's what I did it for." Like, that's why the Holy Spirit said, "Do it." And it's
Right.
just, it's really cool because I'm able to do things like what I made, I didn't, I mean, what I did in gross, not made, I didn't make $4 million. Dang, I wish. But what I did in gross last year, I don't think, you know, people in my family have ever seen that much money.
Right, exactly.
Um,
Yep.
I don't think they've ever had that much go through a bank account. It's very awesome because this year was the second time my dad, or third time ever, my dad told me, "Hey," he goes, "I'm proud of you." And that made me cry.
Wow.
Um, I mean, I got teared up right now just saying it. So it's my dad said, I knew you would be something, but I didn't know you'd be this something. But this something makes me proud. So it was
Wow.
really cool.
That's incredible, dear brother. Congratulations on that. Uh, and you're doing security as well, you said?
Yeah, I do. I do security as well for executive security protection.
Nice, nice. And is that yourself or do you have a team of
So I work with two different. I work by myself and I also work with a team.
Okay.
But I love to do one on one with anybody. I do a lot of political figures, as you can see on my Instagram. I do a lot of people within politics, within the political space. Um, I just believe that it just like the disciples and just like people in the Bible, there has to be spiritual warriors and warriors of God, and people think that the Bible is all sunflowers and daisies.
Yeah, it's not.
They really do forget. Jesus himself flipped tables and started whipping people with whips. Um, there has to be somebody that's willing to disciple some people with their hands. If you get my drift, and it's sad, but it's a true reality that evil has to be met with a spiritual warrior that's willing to stand up and say, "I'm here. You're not getting past me." And Byron Rogers is one of those guys that I stand toe to toe with, side by side. Byron Rogers, I have Iron
Awesome
Goat,
Marine. I follow him as well. Yeah.
very, very, very great Marine. And we are all of the same cloth. We all know that we like to say we're violent gentlemen,
There
and
you go.
we will shake your hand, but we will crush you with our fist if time comes. But at the same time, we're men of God.
Right.
And people say you can't be both. Oh, absolutely we can be.
Yeah.
It takes we're sheepdog. We are the sheepdog that will protect the herd, and we're okay with that.
Right. Yeah. That reminds me that priest was 100% wrong, right? Because there were so many battles in the Bible. Yeah, David and Goliath fighting the giant, right?
That
Uh,
maybe people forgot. Let's just talk about that for 2 seconds.
yeah.
Did people forget that David chopped Goliath's head off, sliced his head off, and held
Yep.
it up to the people and was holding a severed skull and praising it?
Yep.
Maybe people forgot. I don't know. Maybe they
Right.
did.
Right.
Maybe they forgot,
Well, I think Shane, to be honest with you, I think most people don't has never even read the Bible.
I believe, yeah. I
Yep.
just finished reading 2 months ago. I finished reading the Bible in a year. We did the
Nice.
Bible course, read a Bible in a year. You can get it on Amazon, and it's really cool. It's Man, you want to talk about informative and really learning. It's now the second time I've read the Bible front to back, and it was just really crazy to pick up things that I was like, wait, what? And then you start cross-referencing. You're like, oh my gosh, you can go down wormholes in the
Oh
Bible.
yeah, absolutely. I love it. And speaking of David and Goliath, and you said Amazon. Amazon has a series on right now that my daughter
Yep.
and I are watching, which is awesome, right?
Yeah. And a
Which is
lot of people don't realize as well. They see a Bible, and one thing I like to bring up anytime we start talking about the Bible, people know the Bible, right? Okay,
right.
cool. The Bible has all these different, all these different verses in there. People need to realize these people, only two of them ever met. Like most of these people never met one
Right.
another. Jesus only traveled 100 miles max. Like Jesus wasn't all the way over.
Right,
people for
exactly. Yep.
people forget that, but yet all their stories coincide, and they're still in line. Tell me that's not God working.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if you look for him, he's there right in front of us, right? Every
Yeah.
day. So,
Oh man.
which is incredible. I had a quick question regarding, we were talking about the VA and medication earlier.
Yep.
Did you ever do any kind of stem cells or psychedelics to help you out?
I dabbled in mushrooms for a while,
Okay.
microdosing, and I think that was actually very beneficial.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I took too much at one time on accident,
Got
and
it.
I had a really bad trip, and I haven't touched them since.
Got it. Got
Um,
it.
I refuse to use marijuana.
Yeah.
It just makes me sick. And I'm not smashing. If somebody uses it and it works for you, I bless you, dude. Like if that's what it takes, that's a lot better than picking up heroin or cocaine or anything like that. But yeah, no stem cells. I've done stem cells, but not for PTSD or anything like that.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I've had some guys on that have had a lot of luck. Some Navy SEALs, some MARSOC guys, Green Beret guys that have gone to Mexico and got the psychedelics and was awesome. And same thing with
Yeah.
the stem cell. So I was kind of curious how that worked out for you. So you took them yourselves. You never went down there for a trip though.
No, I never went down there. There
Okay.
was a camp for a long time. I think the camp has since been gone, but yeah, it was. I had an opportunity to go down there, and they were doing ayahuasca,
Yep.
and really just digging into your trauma and bringing it all out. And and I had a chance to go with a fellow jujitsu black belt, but I was not in a good part of my life. This is prior to 2020. I wasn't in a good part of my life to where I could just run away at the moment.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I got I think it's 2 weeks. I got a Navy SEAL coming on that's trying to fight to get the psychedelics approved
Mm.
for the veterans. So that'll be on in a couple weeks. How was I think the executive protection, you were at the presidential inauguration. How was that?
That was insane, man. It was freezing cold outside, but just being with running EP work at the inauguration is insane of itself.
Okay.
I'm kind of happy that it was moved inside for numerous reasons, security
Yeah,
reasons, cold
definitely.
reasons. I was able to run into a lot of Byron and everybody else. We were all working, in the same circles. We all work in the political realm, and it's really I got to meet some really inspirational and spiritual warriors there, including very powerful people. I met people from all different realms that are just their bank accounts are bigger than your phone digits, and they were so nice. You want to talk about some of the most humble humans you've ever met. I met Supreme Court justices of local states of Alabama, Kentucky, and these guys they were so intrigued with me, and I was like, "Yo, I'm a no. You're a Supreme Court justice of a state." Like, it's quite amazing. It's such a blessing to be there in that moment, and to be with congressmen and senators and just rally around people that love this country.
That's awesome, man. I can't even imagine. And that you brought up another great point. Surround yourselves with really top leaders
Yep,
makes a big difference in your life, right? So
correct.
you've heard how many times it's like, I could tell you, but if you're hanging out with the top three people, what their life is like, I could tell what your life's going to be like in 5 years. So try to hang out with people that are higher level than you, right? And make it challenging in your life, right? Which is awesome.
Well,
So that's why I love
well,
this
I did.
podcast. Go ahead.
Yeah, I posted something on my Instagram today, and it's funny. I got a few of my really close friends. I said, it's funny when you're at the highest of the high in life. Everybody seems to find your phone number real easily, but it's when you're low you find out who your real friends are because that phone number's been there the whole time, and you
Right.
know who uses it.
That's true. Yeah. And I think surround yourself with those people, but have a good heart still, which I could
Amen.
tell you, I could tell you have, brother, because I do the same thing. I text a lot of brothers of mine. It's like, hey, how you
Yep.
doing? What's going on? I never text them. I think I've texted one or two maybe that I love you, but I think the first time somebody told me 10 years I love you, it's like, what are you talking about? Because I wasn't, yeah, but
It took a little breaking out of that shell, bro.
yeah, but it's God's love, so you're
Yeah.
good, right? Right. So it's nothing weird. So nothing weird about it. If you were 20 today, what path would you take or tell others to take?
If I was 20, holy wowzers. Um,
Or 17?
17, if I had to run it all back, say the
Right.
same thing, I
Yep.
would run it back double. I would do it again. I
Got
wouldn't
it.
change a thing. I would join the military. I tell everybody, I told my son the same thing. My son chose not to join the military.
Okay.
That's my son's choice. My son works a corporate job now. He loves it, and he's a district manager. He crushes it, and I'm
Nice.
very proud of him at 20 years old.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Um,
we all have different paths, like we were talking earlier,
amen.
right?
Yeah, and that's not his.
Right.
And he said, "Hey, Dad, you served. I don't have the heart for it." And I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! I'm not mad at you. You
Yeah.
know, I would tell people, don't rush your life. I have I have lived 100 lives, and I'm only 39. I turned 40 this year, and I'm like, I've lived 100 lives already, and I can tell you what's good, what's bad, what's ugly, what's indifferent. Don't rush. I rushed a chunk of my early life, um, and it backfired. But I was able to rebound, and by not giving up, I was able to rebound. So don't rush. Enjoy the ride. We only have so many years on this world. Don't hate. Yesterday's mistakes are not tomorrow's failures. Don't let that define you. Hey, guess what? I've been homeless twice. I'll be honest on the podcast. I've been homeless twice. I've lived in my car. I've couch surfed for almost a year and a half. I've been broke. I've also had digits very large in my bank account, and none of that makes me or define me. It's like Muhammad Ali says, you can get knocked down 99 times, but you can stand up 100. It's like, dang, okay. Not a matter of how hard you get hit. It's how hard you can get hit and stand back up and keep fighting. Okay,
Exactly. Yep.
I got you. And I've been smacked, but I would tell a 20-year-old me or a 17-year-old me, life is gonna come at you hard. Just be ready and bury your feet in the dirt and take it head on. Don't run away from it.
Absolutely. And when you're going through hard times and challenges, guess what? The sun's going to shine the next morning. It's a brand new day.
Yep.
You have a new start, brother. So
Yep.
let's roll, which is awesome. All right, awesome. Trying to think what other questions. I know we're almost close on time here. What advice would you share with with the audience about achieving success?
Success doesn't come overnight. If it does, something's wrong.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah, you're right.
yeah, if it comes overnight, be weary. You might have just bought snake oil. But just be very cautious. Success is amazing. I didn't get my first paycheck from my company for 5 years.
Wow.
And I tell people that, and they're like, wait, what? You were doing this, this, and this. I remember my first paycheck was $530 for my company, and I thought I was a millionaire. I was like, "Boy, I made it!" Because most companies fold within five. Three to
That's true.
five is 3 to 5. If your company can make it past that 5 year, and I made it through COVID.
Oh,
I
wow.
I found my niche in COVID. I did over 1 million plus in COVID, and I was like, "Yo, I'm doing something." And then I was able to double that in 21, 22, 23, 24, and now I'm like looking at it. I'm like, I'm there. I found my niche. I found my highway. Just know that don't ever overexpand yourself. It's like stretch marks. You can overexpand and stretch a little bit, but
Yep.
don't overdo it and tear. Stretching's okay, but just make sure you stay faithful, stay knowing, stay grounded, never never overdo your money. I don't personally believe in taking a bunch of loans. I always believe in only doing the work I can believe that I can pay back.
Exactly.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, that's how I've always grown my company. I started very small. I started doing, everything. Now I can float these big jobs because I never over expanded with beyond my own personal growth.
Got it. That's awesome advice, brother. Thank you. What advice, you got a resilient mindset. What advice would you give people that do not have that mindset? They actually get to that point. 'Cause I think a lot of us do have that mindset, but the people that don't, how do they get there?
I think a lot of people are scared to have that mindset, and it's not a bad scared,
Right.
anxiety or just not self belief. I would say what I tell people, what I used to do in fighting is I go to a mirror and I look at it every day. You got to stare in that mirror. You got to brush your teeth. You got to comb your hair. You got to shave. You got to do all that stuff. Take a dry erase marker and start writing positive messaging around that mirror so it encompasses you. Every day you have to read that because you're going to stare in that mirror for 20, 30 minutes. Why not use that 20, 30 minutes to start getting that self-belief and that tenacity that you deserve and that God knows you deserve? Use that. Write a Bible verse, recite something, and just I am the most powerful. I am. Don't use I wish I no, that that's a poverty mindset. You have to let that go. Poverty mindsets will entrap you and just absolutely destroy you. It has to be positive and foregoing. So I will, I am, and just I am the most powerful. I am an absolute savage. I am this. I am that. I mean, I still write notes to myself like that just so I can read it 100 times in a day. It's okay to do it. You're not weak because you write a note to yourself.
No, I think that it definitely makes you more powerful for sure, right? You just
Yep.
gave me an idea. I'm actually going to write that on my daughter's mirror as well and mine.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's I mean my daughter has notes on her mirror and I love it.
there you go.
I'm like let's go girl.
Hey, you touched one person already, brother. Me.
Yep. I appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Uh, so we're about wrapped up here. What would you like people listening to today to remember about you or your work?
Just know that, again, I said it earlier, but if my worst day can be somebody else's success, if everything I've screwed up in life can be your stepping stone, I would live it 100 more times to make sure of that. I don't care. I trust me, I do care that I failed, but I don't care that I failed in order to motivate somebody else. And if I can do it, you can do it. I know my problems may be exacerbated way more than yours, or maybe yours are tenfold of mine. I'm not here to compare anybody or anything, but yet stand side by side with you and just know that no matter how bad the day is, no matter how grim the situation, the sun will pass and come up tomorrow and you will live another day. We have only so many days on this earth and so many days on this planet. You can't sit in a slum for numerous of them and just waste them. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to reach out for help. It's okay to be you and be the strongest you and the best version of you every day.
I love that, man. That's great advice. And reaching out, if you think about it, we've always had in our lives, even if you were not military, you had some family back in the days. If you were military, you had teams, right? So guess what? We're still teams, right? Whether we're in or not, whether you're military, firefighter, whatever, reach out to us. We're brothers in Christ, which is the
Yep.
most important, which I love that.
Strongest
Hey,
army
thank
in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. It is the biggest army in the world.
Yeah.
And we're on a battle, like we talked about earlier. Shane, thank you for sharing your knowledge and giving back on today's podcast. I look forward to catching up with you more soon. To our listeners, share and like this episode. These stories need to be heard. Stay focused, stay winning. God bless you, and thank you for tuning in.